All right, today we are going to be doing our make day for our second make day for the color module. And I'm going to open up my Chrome canvas and use it today. But you can be using any of the programs you might like, or hopefully you've got some cool um, um, materials, maybe some paints, watercolors, crayons, markers, something fun. I'm going to open up an image from an image I've saved for you all that's available on our our weekly modules page, and it's 6 little flowers. And this is what we're going to be looking at today. Is we're going to be looking at how we create those tints and shades. Tints and shades. A tint is where we add white to a color. And those shades, we add black to a color. Whoop. So what we're talking about is value, which is how light or dark something is, and intensity. Oh, me. Don't like any of that. Can't read my. There we go. And that is the brightness of a color, really. So that's what we're going to be looking at as we color in these 6 little flowers. And for each flower, we're going to choose a primary or secondary color. And I want all my primaries, I'm going to choose my little pastel. I want all my primaries down here on the bottom and my secondaries at the top. So I'm going to do this first, just the little center. We're not coloring the petals yet. We're just doing the center. So my first little center here is red. The next one I have is going to be yellow. Yellow right here. And finally on the primary colors is my blue. And I'm going to put my blue here on this one. Now, if you remember, we've got 3 primary, but we also have 3 secondary colors. So I'm going to put my orange right here between my red and yellow, sort of above. And I'm going to put the green, which is another one of my secondary colors, here in this little flower, kind of between yellow and blue. And that last little flower, well, it's going to get our purple. So now you should have all 6 of your little flowers ready to start coloring in those petals. So now we're going to look at how we're going to color in those petals. And instead of picking different colors, we're going to pick the same color, but we want different tints and different shades, different values of that same color. So I'm going to go back to my red here, and that's the red I've got for my my color there. But if I go up here to custom, well, looky there, I can choose to add a little white to it or a little black to it. So the first thing I want to do is just add just a little bit of white. If I add just a little bit of white to this, what do I get? And I'm going to color this one in with that color. Oh, it's just a little bit lighter than that other red. I'm going to color that in. All right. And what if I do the one next to it even a little lighter? So I add a little more white to it. So I'll put that right here. And now I want to look at what happens if I add even a little more white to that color of red. I'm going to pick that a little over there closer to that white area. And now I get this really light, pretty pink. So now we've got 3 different values of red. We've got that sort of dark red with white in it a little bit, the medium red with a little white in it, and that very light red with a lot of white in it. Well, now what if we look at those shades? What if we add black to it? What if we go just a little black? I'm gonna pick by going left, I get white. By going down, I add a little black. So I'm gonna add just a little bit of black, and I'm going to add it to this one here. Next to that one that's the darkest of those tints, I'm going to have a little shade going on here. This is a shade of red because, again, a shade is created when we add a little black to a color. What if I add a little more black to it? I come down just a little further. Let's see what that looks like. I'm going to color this one like that. Now we've got sort of what we call a rich, dark burgundy color. Boy, that's really dark. That's very pretty, though. All right, so for the last petal, what if I added even more black to that red? What do I get? So I'm going to come way down here. Not all the way to the black because I don't want it to be completely black. But a little further down, and let's make it a little darker. And, ooh, that is a really dark burgundy red. Well, that is a really dark burgundy red. Now, all of these will sort of look like black until you see them compared to the other colors that have a little bit of black added to them. So now we see what happens to red when we add white to it and red when we add black to it. We can see all of the tints and the shades of that red. Awesome. I like that flower very much. All right, now let's look at our yellow. So let's come back to that palette, and I chose that yellow. And I'm going to come over now to the custom range, and I'm going to start adding a little white to it. If I add a little white, what do I get? I'm going to come here and add a little white to that yellow. And I get something that looks like that. Oh, that's really pretty. All right. What if I add a little more white to it? I'm going to come over here and add a little more white. Ooh, it gets really very pale. Look at that, it's a pale yellow. Very pale. And last but not least, if I add even more white, look how light that yellow becomes. All that white added to it. Boy, that is a very pale, very, very pale yellow. Just like before, we're going to come up over here, though, and start adding. What if we add a little bit of black? Just a little bit. What do we get? Well, we get something that looks like this. Now, you might be creating this by layering your watercolors over each other if you're using watercolors, or you might be overlapping your crayons to make this if you're using crayons. And I'm adding just a little more black, just a little more here. That's a dark yellow. And then I'm going to add just a little more black. And we'll get that dark, dark, dark yellow here. All right, now I've got all the values, those tints and shades of that yellow. Now I'm ready to look at my blue. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go back to that custom palette. I'm going to choose that blue. And I'm going to now look at adding a little bit of white to that blue. What do I get? And again, I'm going to start with this little petal here. Adding just a little bit of white to it, I get a nice, pretty sort of light blue. What if we add just a little more white to it? Or come over here and see how pretty and pale that blue gets. Oh, I love these tints of blue. Blue's one of my favorite colors. Remember, we're adding white, so we're creating those tints, and then we'll go way over here and add a lot of white to get this last blue done, because we want to show just how bright and pretty that blue can be. What a nice blue. Now, what if we add a little bit of black? So we're going to go down, just add a little bit of black to it, just a little bit. And this is our first shade of blue. Remember, we add black to the blue, or black to a color, we get a shade. So that's our first shade. Let's see if we make it a little darker with the second one. Adding a little more black, we're going to get a little darker value. These colors, as we add black or white, they become less intense. The most intense blue, the brightest blue, is the very center. The brightest of all these colors is that little center. As we add that black and white, we make these less intense. These colors are more muted, we call it. They're less intense. All right, and now we've got all those values of blue, from light blue all the way to the dark blue, all those tints and all those shades. All right, I'm ready to do my orange. I'm going to come up here, go to my color selector, choose my orange, come back over to the custom so I can then see what happens when I add just a little bit of white. Try adding a little white to that. Ooh, I think that's a pretty orange. Very nice. If we add a little more white, what do we get? Oh, that's kind of getting a little fleshy color almost. What if we add a little more white? How light will that orange get? Oh, that is a real soft. That looks like an orange creamsicle almost. Those are delicious. All right, now let's see what happens when we add a little black to that orange. So what happens when we make it a little darker? We get those shades going. Ooh, that's a neat orange. That's nice. Okay, let's add a little more black to it. What happens? Make a darker shade. And last but not least, let's add a lot of black to it. And let's see what we get. That's real similar to kind of what we got with our orange, isn't it? All right. I like that pretty well. That's a nice little orange flower. We got a yellow flower, red flower, blue flower. All the little values created by those colors. Now we're ready to take a look at our green. So again, we're going to add a little bit of white to our green. What do we get when we add a little bit of white to it? Add a little more white to it. What do we get? Oh, I'm started going the wrong way. Well, here we go again. Is this one of those things where I gotta go back out? Yeah. Guys, if your Chrome canvas locks up, just go back out and come back in. There we go. And then I'm going to add just a little more white to that. I get this really pale green. I'm Irish. We got a lot of green stuff around the house. Big fans of green. Now let's see what happens when we make that green a little darker. When we start adding that black to it. That's kind of nice. It's a kind of earthy green. What happens if I add a little more black to it? Take a look at that. Now that's sort of becoming like a forest green, almost like we'd find in those pine trees and that sort of thing. Oh, look at that dark green. Yep, that looks like a Christmas tree. Christmas tree green. Army truck green. That real dark green. I like it. All right, now we've got our green where we've got all the tints and shades that create all those awesome values going on in that green. Last but not least, let's take a look at our purple. So I'm going to select the purple. I'm going to add a little white to that purple and see what I get. Ooh, that's a nice purple. All right. If I add a little more white to it, how's that going to look? Ooh, that's a lavender. That's what my daughter wants her bedroom painted. Right there. That color right there. And I'm going to add just a little more white to it so we can see just how pale that purple gets and what it looks like when we add that white to it. And that is a really pretty tint of that purple. Now we're going to go back and add our black. If I come over here, I'm going to select that there. Add just a little bit of black to it, just a little bit. I'm going to darken it up just a little bit. Oh, that's nice. What if we go a little darker? Ooh, those rich purples are really nice. Always great colors when you get those rich purples. And last but not least, if we add a bunch of black to our purple, what do we get? So, understanding that a lot of artists never use black at all in their paintings. And one of the ways that you can kind of appreciate that and understand that is if we look at, let me just choose this dark value and this dark value and this dark value. If we did a painting just in values of that blue or just of that purple, that darkest value would start to read, our eyes would start to see it as being the black in that image or that painting. It would see that little lavender color here sort of as being the white of our painting, if you will. So, understanding how artists use value is very important. They have to use value to create those tints and those shades so that they can show all of the values that a color can express when it's in a painting. So, this is important if you are looking at an object. If we try to draw an object in 3 dimension and try to make it look like it's got form, we're going to have to understand how to create those tints and values and shades to show that it's 3 dimensional, to show all of the transitions of color that happen in that drawing. So these are our flowers. We've got our primary and secondary colors here, yellows. I want to make my yellow even a little brighter. I like that yellow, but I really want to brighten the middle of that flower up a little bit, just a little bit. All right. Guys, I hope you've had fun making your make day today. Get those submitted and you can put those if you don't care also in the gallery space and I can get those posted on our webpage. All right, that's our make day. I hope you enjoyed. Hang on to these with your color wheel, and we're going to talk on the last make day about those tertiary colors. All right, guys, have a great day. I look forward to see you on the next lesson day.